from the constituency of St. James Central, Kerrie Symmonds.
Everybody ready?
Everybody ready?
Go tell your friends.
Go tell your friends.
Tell your whole family.
Get on it, people.
A pleasant good evening to you, Labour Party family. Let me try this again. You all have become a sepulchre. Good evening, Labour Party family. How are you feeling? A little better. How are you feeling? Now, Carol Roberts tells me that I have 2 minutes in order to bring the presentation of the candidates to a climax. It puts me in a little bit of a perplexed position because I have never in my life been able to bring anything to a climax in 2 minutes. But I will try as best as can be and aim to please the lady. Now, there's something that I want to start with, Labour Party, in all honesty. I am going to ask you, first of all, to put your hands together. I am the last of the 29. She who leads us and will lead us to victory will be number 30. I want you to give a round of applause to all those who went before. And I also want to say to you that I am a little bit angry this evening. And I'm angry because of the fact that St. James Central has suffered the politics of spite and worthlessness of this government, deliberately so, depriving, not Kerrie Symmonds, but the people of Barbados from opportunities that would have taken substantial pain and deprivation and suffering off of their backs. I hear Winnie's voice in the background and start there. Walk with me through the constituency. If you went into Bagatelle, immediately after any one of the thunderstorms that we had in recent times, and we had plenty, you would see deluge of water, roads impassable, water in people's homes up to the ankle and the shin, man. If you went a little further into Arch Hall and Bennett's, where even as I speak to you, whenever there's a problem on the South Coast with the sewage project, or in Bridgetown with their sewage project, you know, they take trucks, load them up, and dump raw feces in the mangrove pond landfill, downwind of the people I represent, and even more senselessly, downwind of the people who are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to come here and stay at Sandy Lane Hotel. If you go a little further down the road, into Greenwich Village, you will see the pain and agony of people right bordering Eddie's constituency and mine. Mothers who can't get home to the children because the last bus before 10 o'clock from Bridgetown is at 5:30. And if you miss that, you can't get home. If you think that roads in your districts are bad, attempt to walk or drive through Riss Road in Fitz Village. This government has been atrocious. I heard Dale Marshall talk about neglect. But you know, Redmond Village in St. Thomas is part of St. Thomas. And St. Thomas, as well as St. Joseph, as well as St. Andrew, as well as St. John, as well as St. Lucy, as well as St. Peter, have seen long, long, long months without water. The only difference in St. James Central is that this government has not been decent enough to put in one community tank in Redmond Village. And I would have thought that after giving you that snapshot of some of the pain that the average man in Barbados is going through, those are the issues. Those are the issues, Labour Party. I would have thought that a decency, nay more, a sense of respect for the people of Barbados would have caused the Prime Minister of this country, speaking to his annual conference, as I now do to you, to stand and address some of those issues. But he went 2 months ago to their annual conference, and he regaled them with the idiocy of a speech about defining Mayor Motley in the context of elitism, if you please. He who is more elitist than any politician in Barbados has ever been will define Mayor Motley in the context of elitism. Oh, no, what sort of feces are we being invited to wade through? Let us be real. And we cannot allow these things to pass unnoticed because Franda Stewart is seeking to deflect attention from his mammoth failings as a prime minister of this country. And a man does not have a record to run on, he has a record to run from. And Franda Stewart has a lot of record to run from. I told Kurt Humphrey's branch a few Sundays ago that, and you will forgive me, Labour Party, I spend a lot of time on the streets. And I picking up the language, the vernacular of the street. And if I bring to you the vernacular of the street, you will forgive me. But on the street, the fellas will tell you that a rat is nothing. And that if you are worse than nothing, you are going to be a rat's boxy. And Barbados, ladies and gentlemen, has now had sitting upon us a rat boxy excuse for our prime minister. And the rat boxy excuse for our prime minister is seeking to deflect attention from the painful reality of life in Barbados today by talking about elitism. And I want Franda Stewart to understand that Mayor Motley is not any election issue in Barbados. The election issue in Barbados, and this 30 candidates that you see before you today are committed to demonstrating that the election issue in Barbados is about returning this country to a path and trajectory of social and economic development. The election issue in Barbados is how we lift the pain and suffering off the backs of the people that we represent. Those are the election issues in Barbados. Not Mayor Motley. But if Franda Stewart wants to talk about elitism, then I invite him to do a little introspection and look within the Democratic Labour Party. Because I remember well that there was a man who owned his own private plane, who led the Democratic Labour Party, who stood on the floor of Parliament. I mean, Erbar, man, don't look at me, Erbar owned his own plane and a Mercedes-Benz at the same time when people in Barbados were struggling to afford a jackass car. Want to talk about elitism? And stood on the floor of the Parliament and said that he was one of two people in Parliament at that time who were born on a plantation. So it gave him pedigree where the rest of them was nobody. Dr. Richard Cheltenham is here. That's a fact. He said it. And it was the same Arab, was it not, that fired John Connell under a breadfruit tree at night, saying that he will never be contradicted in public by the son of a carpenter. That was the same Arab. And if Franda Stewart wants to come a little closer to modern times, Franda Stewart must tell us about the multi-millionaire who was told that he must stop allowing his companies to sell insurance policies that were toxic, that had no integrity, and 2,500 of them were sold. And Franda Stewart must tell us who was the prime minister, who was the leader of the Democratic Labour Party that said, leave him out, he is my pal. What elitism are we talking about? Ask Franda Stewart to tell you about the $3.33 million that left under a fraudulent invoice, made its way to a law office in Barbados, while she who is now the Member of Parliament for St. John was at all material times the husband of the Prime Minister and manager of the same law office, and the money has never been seen in public since. What elitism are we talking about when if your children move $33, they go in jail? What elitism are we speaking about? I want you to know that when Franda Stewart leaves Barbados, he puts Richard Seeley, who went to Harrison College, that Ralph Thor would have seen him there. His nickname was Richie Rich. Richard Seeley, who pick up a $100,000 motor car every day, never catch a bus yet. What elitism? That man acts as your prime minister with the blessing of Franda Stewart. This is an element of distraction. Do not allow ourselves to be hoodwinked. I say to you that the Bible gives you the answer for Franda Stewart. In the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 5, Thou hypocrite, cast out the beam from thine own eye first. Cast out the beam from thine own eye first, so that you might better see to remove the speck from your brother's eye. This Labour Party will not be detracted and deflected from focusing on the fundamental issue of economic development and a return to a trajectory and path of development in this country. And we will do so under the able, uncompromising and astute leadership of Mayor Amor Motley. She has been tried, she has been tested, she has been placed in the balances. She is not found wanting. I commend her to you with every sinew of my body. I commend her to your support, and I ask you in every constituency, come out in your numbers to support the cause of this great party, the effort of our candidates in this movement to rid Barbados of a regime marked by corruption, a regime marked by misadventure, a regime marked by depravity in high office. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and God bless.